Because at 5 to 10, it's usually maybe 2/3 of that, maybe even less.
So if it's 10 years, if I got sentenced to 10 years on my third felony, I'm going to serve 10 years.
Yeah, it's not. It's like it's not life without parole.
Right.
But it's the sentence without parole.
Now, if you got convicted for a murder and you got a life sentence,
Then
it's life without parole.
Yeah.
But if I get 10 years,
but it depends on what you've done. It still has to be a serious felony, and it's in violent crime. That came about. There was a young woman, Melissa Gossel, who was murdered by a three-timer. Been in and out of the jails back 11 years ago, and her father's been advocating this for a long time. More recently, a police officer in Woburn was killed by somebody who shouldn't have been let out. He was out on parole, but the parole led to a major restructuring of the parole board because they didn't do their homework on that one. He should have still been in.
Should have never been let out.
And so they, some of the families that have seen the fact that these folks did not learn their lesson by going to jail, they are just not good people. And so then if you've been given 3 chances to try to clean up your act, that's a pretty generous, in my opinion.
There's a lot of victims on violent crime in your wake.
Yeah, and sometimes, and in many cases, they're the person's own family.
Now, would it be politically incorrect to look at the old English form of justice? Can't we buy an island?
Well, there aren't too many islands left that we can. I think you'd have to send them to another planet. Maybe that's why they're on Mars now exploring.
I was going to say, there's got to be. Maybe I'd put a wrinkle that if you want to be a lawyer defending them, you got to live on the island for 6 months.
Don't tell John that.
No, John will get mad at me, but he gets mad at me for everything else, so why not?
Well, it's we haven't, in all the years of the crime and punishment, that I don't know that we've come up with the best system of to the degree that somebody can be rehabilitated, to rehabilitate. No, a lot of it comes down to the individual. If they have the reasons to want to improve,
sure,
and you give them a few breaks to do that, then they can turn around. But and part of the whole corrections idea is that you do in fact give somebody a trade, try to give them, maybe they can get educated while they're there. Some people think that's even too generous to do that, but you want to try to make them productive citizens, and unless
if somebody made a mistake once and they try and fix it, I don't know that any of us, unless it's an axe murderer or something, but you turn around and say, if somebody legitimately made a mistake and they're trying to turn themselves, okay.
Yeah, I think that when it becomes a violent crime, if somebody was seriously injured or killed.
When you've mugged your third person, I don't feel like you're trying to make your life better anymore.
Well, and unfortunately, a good part of the population, at least the younger population in the prisons today, are there because of drugs and/or gang-related activity. Sometimes it's both. And particularly when it's drugs, they're not functioning as a rational person, right. And they will steal or hurt somebody else just because they need the drugs. And the gangs, it's almost the same. A lot of the stuff going on in Boston and Chicago, some of the other cities, is this macho gang stuff, where and unfortunately somebody else, there's a lot of collateral damage. Other people who had nothing to do with it or only bystanders get killed or hurt in the process. So there's got to be some tougher stands taken with folks in that category.
Have you heard anything about casinos lately? We see a little bit of activity, and then everybody looks around and says, it's awful quiet on the Milford front.
Yeah, I have not heard a lot lately on the Milford proposal. The commission is set up and is now running. They are accepting applications.
Mere $400,000.
Yeah, well, it's a start. And the group that is planning one at Suffolk Downs has put an application in. There's a time period for getting those in, so the board will have to evaluate each of them. Now, of course, they also have to get the community still, when to put in an application, they must get the support of the community or communities if it's over on a border where it's located. While they don't have a veto, they need to get the neighboring communities at least to talk to them to try to get their
to
support.
not cause war.
Yeah, and that might mean you've got to mitigate their concerns in whatever the way you
have to throw
can.
some crumbs off the table.
And so that all that has to happen first, and then the commission can decide what's the best deal from the state's perspective of it. What's
But it's still looking like one out west, one southeast.
And then we have the southeast one probably, although it's not finalized. I mean, the Native American tribe has come in with they've signed an agreement with the governor, and the legislature has authorized it. That puts the reason the Native Americans came in, they wanted to have their plan hopefully running the same time as the one or two commercial casinos that would be coming in, so they wouldn't be behind the curve on the economy of getting customers. But they've agreed to pay 21% of their gross to the state, which they didn't. Which if they were all set, if they had their land in trust, which the federal government requires, and they were federal recognition, which they do have, they wouldn't have to pay us anything because they're treated as a sovereign nation.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Dick, let's call the ball. I want to put a casino, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not paying you anything. And then the legislature says, really? We're going to authorize a casino 5 miles away from you.
Oh, you can do that.
Hello.
But
I mean, they're not going to be silly because they're cutting their own throat.
Well, and see, the reason they're really going for it is that they don't want to be left out. If they wait until everything's ready and don't apply, at least didn't have
You
the
put a
agreement,
casino in Milford, or like they wanted to in Foxborough.
it would become
It's the casino.
Yeah.
What are you going to do 10 miles away?
Well, the only thing you're going to do is you're going to offer so many deals that it might not be profitable for you.
Then you're going to cut each other's throat.
Yeah. So they're working on it. They still have not got the issue of this land in trust. They've been trying to find some land, and it has to then be accepted by the federal
They
government.
get that little thing about the time date stamp that you had to have it before.
Yeah. There's still some hurdles for the Native American group to get
Now,
past.
do we care? I mean, realistically, whether you put a casino on Native American land, I mean,
We only care in the sense that by the process that we've put together, that they will actually pay something to the state and help the communities. If we didn't have that provision, then
you sit there and say, sorry guys, we're going to put one right next door.
because they had the issue in Connecticut has both of the casinos there are Native American. They do pay something, but it's really almost like a payment in lieu of taxes to the state, and so it's not anywhere near what we're going to likely get from our deal. So I think, assuming they actually all get built and open and running, and the economy's enough to support it, they will do better than Connecticut.
Well, when David Nunes came on, he said the age of the mega casino is gone.
Well, and I don't think what we do want to see, and we've been told that the best way is that you want to have not just a casino. And if you drive out in the West, and the Native American tribes have, it's like a bowling alley that they've turned into a casino.
Right.
And that's the only thing there. Well, that's not really what makes money and helps both in tax revenue and jobs. The casino that also has a hotel, shows,
Well, I mean, you'd get people like
restaurants.
me. If you put a casino in Milford, my patience for gambling is about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you had nice shows, nice restaurant, I'd go to the casino.
Well, and that's what there are, other than the folks that are addicted to gambling.
Yeah.
You want to bring people in who are going to go to the restaurants and go to the shows and maybe do a little gambling on the side. But
I'll put my 5 minutes in before I get bored.
Yeah, and that's what that's really how they make their money in a variety of ways, not just the gambling. Although gambling, there's probably a bigger return.
Well, I mean,
but
I've gone for years, 2-3 times a year to a casino because my daughter's cheerleading events were held at the casino. And sure enough, I was the oddball with the laptop sitting in the restaurant in between, but my darling bride took her roll of quarters, and her and the girlfriends marched off.
They probably thought you were the guy trying to figure out the system that the casino
Maybe
had.
that's what it looked like, because I did get a lot of strange looks. Anything else you want to say to people who voted you in?
Well, I think, obviously we're interested in what people have to say, and both John and I think, have made opportunities to try to hear from people and be available to them. So we're happy to get ideas from the communities and from the individuals of what the next step is in the next few months. I'm certainly going to be spending time in each of the towns to gather that information, give people that opportunity. So as we put together our legislative package for the 2013-14 session, that we have as much input from people in the district, particularly, of what they see the needs are.
Well, anybody who would say they can't get a hold of Dick or John, I'd say you're silly. They're two of the most accessible, easy to talk to people. So it's easy to gripe, but if you have an opinion, get out, talk to them, let them know. And as always, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a little bit tonight. May God bless, and may the center of the universe be a little bit better tomorrow morning. So to the 7 people watching, thank you. And thanks for coming on, Dick.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Too long since I've been home. Been running all my life just searching for my soul. Trying hard not to forget.